It is back. My goodness. It's 9:47 p.m. on Wednesday, and I laid down. For those of you who follow my channel, you know the last episode I was talking about being grounded, and I've essentially been grounded since probably late December, very late December. That was the last time anything had happened. But wow, about 7-8 minutes ago, I just had a new experience, and I guess this is my first experience of 2020. And it was a brief one, but again, I want to share it because I know there are those of you who like me to share every experience, but not only that, I guess I'm just grateful. You know, when it happens, I know that they're still there and they're still assisting me on having these journeys. You know, sometimes, I've been grounded before and I think, wow, will this ever happen again? Is that it? And no, it isn't. This was pretty amazing. Of course, I did feel that sense of motion, but this was so interesting because at first it was that boom, that acceleration, that feeling of just moving. The beyond body feeling is what it really is. And again, it's not leaving my body necessarily. It feels as if my body is moving. That's what the sensation feels like. But this time, it was unusual. Sometimes I'll feel as if I'll move for a certain amount of time, and then I'll stop, and then I'll move downward, and then I'll glide at like kind of ground level or something. I move it in different angles, in different positions. This time it was so cool because, again, for those of you who follow my channel, you know that I walk with a cane and I can stand, but it's a little difficult for me to stand at times. Well, boy, I tell you, when it started for a moment, and then I was almost like I was stood up. It was almost like I was taken and I was kind of put on the ground standing. I haven't felt that sense of standing straight up like that for so long, and it was such a wonderful, wonderful feeling to feel that upright feeling as if I was standing up straight. And then I felt like there was some sort of cushion that I was sort of leaning against, and then I started moving again really fast. It was almost like it was some sort of transport device. Again, this is all what I'm describing to you is all in darkness. This is only what I can feel, as if I were someone who was blind, who's just simply able to say, I can feel this, but I can't see what it looks like. Now, the motion continued after I got on this, whatever this cushion vehicle was that I could feel. And very excitedly, I asked those around me, I want to see it. It's so funny. I'm like a little kid because I'm saying, I want to see. And plus I was excited because it's been a while since I went out. And so once I said that, I could see just barely that something was starting to come into view. And it's interesting because now I'm beginning to realize that wherever it is I'm going, even if I can see where it is, it's still not completely taken its form. And I'm trying to find a way to describe it to you so that you understand what it means when I say that it isn't fully formed yet. It's like it literally would be like an image, or you could think video that is really, really faded. You can see outlines, you can see certain things that look like they could be objects, but you cannot make them out yet. Now, that faded image, that faded video, slowly it begins to take form. It begins to take form slowly, and you can see what it is. I was headed towards some sort of building of some sort. Now, I couldn't describe to you what the building was. I think at this point I couldn't. And even once I arrived, it's hard for me to describe what this was. I believe it was some sort of back door entrance. Okay, so think going into maybe a show. This is what it was like once I arrived, because once everything took full form, it was like, excuse me, I was going into a building that was like a back door to a show. And for those of you who are a little bit older, you'll remember groups that would perform like the Rockettes. This is difficult for me to explain to people that are perhaps younger and who wouldn't know that. Just know that I was going into the back door of a show where people were preparing to perform. And what I saw first were ladies. That's why I keep referring to, or I referred just to the Rockettes, or a group of women who performed on stage who dressed in that way that the Rockettes would dress, or that ladies dressed back in the 50s, maybe the 40s. You know, I'm unfamiliar with when the Rockettes were really, really popular. But I kept going. I went in, and then I saw ladies, and then I kept moving forward. And I would see more ladies as I was moving further and further in. And as I say, I really do feel as if I was backstage somewhere. And I really do feel as if I was in witnessing the beginnings of some kind of a show. What that show was going to be, I don't know, because within moments of arriving, I was back. I wasn't able to hold on very long. This may also have been because I had kind of talk radio on, and talk radio meaning that there were people talking on I had my iPad on and I was listening to something, just because I didn't think I was going anywhere. Another thing I want to kind of tell you guys is this feeling or this sense that I got where I could hear the sound, the talk coming out of my iPad, but at the same time I was seeing what I was seeing. It was happening simultaneously, and I was literally existing in two places at once. Now, I think I've talked about this before. What this really tells me is that this thought that we have that we can only be here, wherever we are, and then over there, wherever we are, yeah, we can do that, but we can exist simultaneously in perhaps 2, 3, 4. Well, I believe we exist in an infinite number of places simultaneously where all these things are happening. I get a very small example of this when I go, because I'm able to exist in the 3D world here, hear things, and I guess at times react to them, but I can also see what's going on in whatever reality I'm entering. It was it was short, excuse me, but it was amazing. And again, the reason why I'm so excited, I know the actual thing itself was very, very short. The experience was short, but the fact that I'm back out there, I'm seeing things. And the thing is, as I said in the previous episode, you have to continue to meditate, continue to do the things that are your foundation, because eventually, if it's not coming immediately, it comes. And sometimes it'll come when you least expect it. Though I have to tell you this in conclusion of this episode, I have to tell you that when I laid down and when I shut my eyes, I could sense that it was going to happen. I could sense that there was clarity, and I could sense that where there was perhaps a barrier before, where some sort of barrier had come into play, that barrier had lifted. And once it did, I was gone. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. I will let you know if this happens again tonight, although I don't think it will. And normally, it's so funny, before I go, one other thing that usually happens to me is after it happens, I'm like energized. It's almost as if someone hits me with electricity or something like that. In a good way. I'm not in torture, not in a torturous kind of way, but in a good way. I feel like I am, jumping around and suddenly wide awake, where I would probably be really sleepy if it hadn't happened. So it's great. Anyway, until next time, take care.